Good afternoon, and thank you to our community members and the media for tuning into this briefing. Our interpreter today is Margie Prop, and once again, thank you, Margie, for being here to provide your services to our community. Today, we are pleased to announce an event featuring a community-wide address by one of the nation's foremost public intellectuals and civil rights leaders, John Powell. The topic of the address is Invitation to a Journey of Belonging, Creating Cultures of Equity and Inclusion. The topic is a timely one. We are in the midst of a national reckoning with the realities of deep-seated inequity and cultural and social division in American society. The roots of these issues run wide and deep. They are wide in that they are reflected in and span across every sector and institution. They are deep in that they are rooted in individual and cultural attitudes, often subconscious. These attitudes can result in disparate opportunities, fraught or even dehumanizing personal encounters, as well as inequitable policies, programs, and systems. While our response to this national reckoning must include a reevaluation of policies, programs, and systems, change must also come from within our cultures and within ourselves. This type of individual and cultural transformation does not come easy. It involves becoming the best version of ourselves, bridging across difference and divide, and ultimately cultivating our innate belonging and connectedness with one another and with the place we call home. While this work is not easy, it is absolutely vital, as this is how we move from the world as it is to the world as it could be. When we embark on a journey of self-reflection and personal transformation, and when we commit to entering into relationship with and listening to the stories of others with different experiences, cultures, or views, we are enriched in unfathomable ways. Our community becomes stronger and more resilient, and the world as it could be becomes not so far out of reach. To catalyze the start of an individual and collective journey of bridging across difference and in service of creating a community of belonging, the City of Lincoln is partnering with organizations across our community to present a virtual community keynote address on Monday, September 28th at 11:30 a.m. The event will feature John Powell, the founding director of the Othering and Belonging Institute at the University of California, Berkeley, and an internationally recognized expert in the area of civil rights, civil liberties, housing, poverty, and democracy. John's work with the Othering and Belonging Institute involves bringing together scholars, community advocates, communicators, and policymakers to identify and eliminate barriers to an inclusive, just, and sustainable society, and to create transformative change toward a more equitable world. John's keynote will address how to create cultures of bridging and belonging, and how Lincoln can become a national model for community-wide change. The program will also feature video participation by Nebraska basketball coach Fred Hoiberg and some of his players, as well as by residents who are working toward building a community of inclusion and belonging. Immediately following the address, Professor Anna Shavers, Klein-Williams Professor of Citizenship Law and former Dean at the University of Nebraska College of Law, and Dr. Jeanette Eileen Jones, Associate Professor of History and Ethnic Studies at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, will provide reflections, drawing upon their own experiences in Lincoln and our community's history. We are deeply grateful to the many organizations across our community that are sponsoring and promoting this event alongside the City of Lincoln, several of whom have representatives joining with us today. Sponsors include the Malone Center, the Bonsall Charitable Fund, and the Nelnet Foundation. Promotional partners include Lincoln Public Schools, the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Lincoln Community Foundation, the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, our Community Health Endowment, Faith Coalition of Lancaster County, Social Emergence, Awaken at Lincoln, Cause Collective, NAACP Lincoln Branch, Leadership Lincoln, Good Neighbor Community Center, Asian Cultural Center, El Centro de las Americas, and the Women's Foundation of Lincoln and Lancaster County. We are pleased to be joined today by Martha Ellen Florence, President of the Board of Directors of the Malone Center. Martha Ellen has served our community in many ways over the years, including as a leadership development facilitator for the federal government, former director of community engagement for NET Television, member of the board of directors for Lincoln City Libraries and Lincoln Community Foundation, and an avid community volunteer, among others. She has rightly been called by the Lincoln Journal-Star a, quote, lifelong agent of change in Lincoln, unquote. Thank you so much for joining us today, Martha Ellen. Over to you for a few words.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you for the city to actually take this on, because this is a definite challenge for our community right now. And Malone Center is very, very proud. I can speak on behalf of the Board of Directors who will be spearheading this initiative along with our other wonderful city partners. We've been an anchor for this community, a cultural anchor for this community for over 65 years. And the things that Mr. Powell talks about, this civil rights, civil liberties, racism, housing, poverty, and democracy, are all things that we have actually historically stepped up to and had a voice for and stood for folks. So once again, we are very excited, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for your leadership, Martha Ellen. We are very grateful for you and the Malone Center for supporting this event. Also joining us today is Preeta Bansal. Preeta is a nationally known public servant and corporate and constitutional lawyer who helped lead the federal government's response to our last national crisis, the 2008-2009 financial crisis, when she was a senior policy advisor in the White House. Now we are fortunate that she has returned to her hometown of Lincoln, where she is working to strengthen our spirit of democracy and resilience from the ground up and from the heartland out. Her other prior roles include serving as a partner and practice chair at Skadden Arps, a leading global corporate law firm, global general counsel in London for one of the world's largest banks, a U.S. diplomat and chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, and law clerk to U.S. Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens. She has advised on the drafting of the constitutions of Iraq and Afghanistan and has been a lecturer at MIT. She is now active in many community boards here in Lincoln and is undertaking numerous grassroots projects in our city. As someone who has scaled so many heights and bridged so many divides in her own life, from her childhood in Lincoln to the halls of national and global power, Preeta has been instrumental in bringing John Powell to Lincoln and conceiving of this endeavor to amplify and celebrate Lincoln as a community of belonging. Thank you so much, Preeta. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I'm just really excited to be playing a small part in this event together with the city, the Malone Center, Nelnet Foundation, and the numerous promotional partners from all sectors of the city, just to really start this journey toward creating a city of belonging. My family has called Lincoln home for 50 years now, actually, this year. My parents were longtime employees of the state of Nebraska, and my siblings have been health professionals here. I had the privilege of going through Lincoln Public Schools all the way K through 12 and had a remarkable experience. The city's given so much to my family over the decades, and in turn, it's been home and has welcomed us to contribute back our energies. After nearly 35 years being away, I returned to Lincoln a few years ago because this is home to me and a place that I think will lead the nation in its own no-nonsense practical way that is the hallmark of our great city. At a time when we're facing so many extreme crises in this country, seemingly, internal division, extreme weather, pandemic, and so much else, not to mention the constant disruptions we face in our ways of being through the exponential advances of technology, I think that our nation's innovative genius and healing will come right from here, the heart of the country, just as the president that we're named after led our nation to unity amid deep and destructive division. Creating a city of belonging is not about just focusing on the past, but it's about building a resilient future. It's acknowledging that no one person and no one group has all the answers. It's really by opening our hearts and learning from each other that we can chart our way through uncertain terrain, continue to innovate, and build resilience for our collective surviving and thriving. So I was really struck, it's not surprising maybe this week, that in the wake of all these destructive fires affecting so many parts of our nation, firefighters are learning from indigenous Native American fire prevention techniques. or that recent studies have shown that in the wake of the mental health crisis that we face during this pandemic, it's the African American community, notwithstanding their disproportionate health, economic, and other burdens, that are faring better on the mental health front, having built up generations of strong internal resources and reserves to carry on in the face of difficult circumstances. The reality is that creating a culture of belonging is not a feel-good, mushy exercise. It's about creating a resilient society. It's about becoming the best that we can be by drawing on all of our parts. That's what John Powell's message is about. It's about owning all parts of ourselves as a collective and not creating new divisions along any dimension in the name of healing. It's about creating cultures of belonging for all. And I think that Lincoln is going to lead the way. It's going to lead the way in this country. We can look beyond our surface divisions to uncover our shared humanity, shared grief, and shared love. Thank you so much, Mayor, for your leadership in all of this. And I want to especially call out the Nelnet Foundation through their through their Service Not Silence fundraiser. They're matching very generously so many contributions of their employees and board.
Thank you, Preeta, for your vision and your leadership and many contributions to this event. Now we'll hear a few words from Barbara Bartle, president of the Lincoln Community Foundation, which is serving as a promotional partner for the event. Barbara's commitment to serving and enhancing Lincoln is evidenced by so many things, by her work at the helm of the Lincoln Community Foundation, her career as an educator and director at the LPS Foundation, her work with Downtown Rotary 14, and her groundbreaking collective impact work right here in Lincoln that helped launch the Prosper Lincoln effort. Barbara, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that we are so pleased at the Lincoln Community Foundation to be able to sponsor John Powell's address to our community. Several years ago, some of our LCF staff heard Mr. Powell speak at a national conference in Chicago. They were so inspired, and discussions started thinking, how could we bring him to Lincoln? And thanks to the leadership of the mayor's office and so many others, that is now going to happen. An important next step now is to get the word out and fill the virtual house. No one in our city should miss this opportunity. At this time of great social unrest, community foundations are called to step up and help our communities find common ground, engage in constructive dialogue, share our individual truths, and listen to the truths of others. And yes, forge a way of healing and growing stronger together. We hope this sponsorship, along with the other community sponsors, will catalyze the start of an individual and collective journey of bridging across differences to create a community of belonging. So let's get the conversation started. I'll see you on September 28th.
Thank you so much, Barbara. We're grateful for your leadership and to have the Lincoln Community Foundation's involvement in this event, along with our other promotional partners. Event details are going to be available on social media, the City of Lincoln's and my mayor's social media accounts, as well as available on our city website by going to lincoln.ne.gov and using the keyword belonging. This citywide address is part of our One Lincoln initiative, which is about creating a community in which all can thrive and feel included. We recognize that the work of creating cultures of inclusion and belonging does not happen overnight. It's a process and a journey. Our hope is that this keynote helps catalyze a journey toward belonging that spans across different sectors and institutions and that begins at an individual level. Opportunities for engaging in this work of bridging across difference and cultivating connectedness with others will be announced following the keynote. In these complex times, it's critical that we find ways to turn not away, but toward one another. And with that, I'd open up for any questions from the media.
Mayor Riley at the Journal-Star.
Riley.
Hi, Mayor. Is this keynote like any other similar events held by previous mayoral administrations, or could you speak to the uniqueness of this?
know that Lincoln's ever seen anything like this before. This is an invitation. It's an invitation for all of us to come together virtually, to be inspired, and to, again, turn towards one another. In polarized times, it can be tempting to turn inward, to turn away from people whose experiences of life are not familiar. But we share values in Lincoln. We share this place as our home, and that's a great foundation from which to move forward and to work together to build an enhanced sense of belonging for everyone in our community. That's what makes life rich. That's what makes life worth living. And I'm so excited about this incredibly collaborative effort. So many people have brought their talents, their networks, and their resources to make this invitation to our community possible.
As a follow-up, Mayor, does the city have any financial contribution to sponsoring this event, or is that sort of privately paid for?
We have private sponsorship, but I will say that the human capital that we have put into this event, I want to give special credit to Alyssa Martin and Adele Burke on my staff. They have both worked on this, and the hours we put in count for, I think, some human capital towards this. Other questions? All right, well, thank you once again to all of our guests. Oh, do we have a question?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
I'm having some tech issues. This is Brent from Channel 8 News. Kind of an unrelated question, but we kind of got some mixed reviews from NU President Ted Carter this morning. He was heard saying that there would be an announcement about Big Ten and Husker football season, and then kind of backtracked on that. But have you had any talks in the recent days about that with UNL or NU officials?
I have not, but please know that our Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department works with institutions, organizations all across our community, including Nebraska Athletics. So with any plans that may unfold or emerge in the coming days or weeks, know that there are conversations going on to make sure that whatever path forward Nebraska Athletics follows, it will have the input and supports and recommendations about how to keep people safe and healthy during these challenging times.
Kind of following up to that, I think capacity for events in the county can reach up to 30,000 people. Let's just say that that there were 30,000 people in Memorial Stadium. How would that work with the mask mandate? And would people be expected and required to wear masks throughout the duration of an entire football game?
You know what, Brent, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that question. I don't have an answer for you right this moment. But it is interesting. I don't know if you've seen some of the historic photos that have been published about the 1918 pandemic, where there were some football games around the country where people were wearing masks because, of course, they wanted to find a safe way to not only enjoy something, but enjoy it as a community without harming one another. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for your time and attention. We are so pleased to be partnering with so many across our community to offer this event, a journey towards a community of belonging. We look forward to seeing all of you participate on September 28th at 11:30. Thank you.